Good morning. Good morning. I am about to go fix all of the trash that I wrote this week. It is the weekend and I am having a solo night, which are few and far between and oh so special. Tom is away and he's just gone for the night, but honestly, I am so excited. I'm so excited to have some time alone. I really love being alone. So not that I don't miss him, but we're just both such introverts that like whenever one of us gets a solo weekend, it is the best. So I just took a shower, and now I'm gonna go to probably my favorite coffee shop in all of the city of Toronto that I've been to, and I am going to reread everything that I wrote this week. Actually, I'm gonna reread everything I've written in this work. If you're new here, if you haven't been following along, I'm writing a adult fantasy story that is all about dragons and warfare and a little romance, lots of forests, all the things. And I recently got to the end of I don't know ultimately if it will be called part one, but in my head, it is the end of kind of the setting up action ever so slightly. I like to always write to turning points for my characters or my plot. This week I did indeed get to one of those points that I consider a turning point, and that usually is an indication for me that it is time to go back and rework a little bit. So that is exactly what I'm doing. When I get to points like this, I really like to try to plan a chunk of time where that is what I do. I don't love trying to rewrite and re-edit around a 9 to 5 because on average I can only give about 2 hours a day to my work. So it just kind of breaks it up and I get out of the zone, even though I don't necessarily believe in a writing zone, but I do believe in an editing zone. And I find that if I spend too many days working through it, I tend to kind of forget what I've previously worked on and written. And I don't know, this is just a long-winded way of saying that I try to like dedicate an entire weekend to revision, or, you know, if I have time off, I dedicate that little bit of time to it. That was a long intro, but it is a cozy weekend. I am all alone. We are going to spend some time together. We are going to write. I am going to probably do a ton of reading, and I'm gonna go to a coffee shop now, so let's go fix all of the terrible things that I wrote this week. Let's try to make them a slightly marginally better. Wherever you are, get cozy. Let's get into it.
Nothing at all, no reason to cry. We tried to find back to the road we paved together. When we forgot to talk, it's okay to run away. Please don't try to hold me back. It's push and pull, and you should know how to care. It's okay to run away. Please don't try to hold me back.
So I'm back home now, and it went really well. I got through about half of what I've written and just reread, edited a little bit, changed up a few things, deleted some things that just felt like they could be deleted. And now I'm just really tired. And I just had a big lunch. I had a leftover pizza. So I think I'm gonna curl up and just read the day away. At some point we're gonna get a grocery delivery, but we're gonna read, and I'm trying to decide what to read. I'm feeling a number of things. I'm currently reading Crime and Punishment. Actually, that's the only book I'm reading. I finished a bunch of books this week, so I'm currently reading Crime and Punishment, and I have the audiobook of Daisy Jones and the Six out from the library, but I don't really feel like reading either of those things. Oh, someone came to join me. Whenever I'm home alone, the cats just like can't get enough of me. So we're gonna pick out something to read, and I kind of want it to be fantasy, maybe a little bit whimsical, maybe not something too sad, because we're currently watching The Last of Us as well. So what am I thinking? Let's dive in. Okay, so I have a couple options in mind. I was thinking of doing A Queen in Hiding, which I randomly bought this series for like $10 at a used bookstore. I have no idea if it's good, but I just really liked the idea of having like a full series on my shelves to dive into at some point. But I can't decide if I want to do that. You can't quite see because Mr. Roger is blocking the way. But I was also considering The Winter Sea. I don't know what that book is about at all though, but it has winter in the title. Yes, we are being that superficial right now. I don't know. I can't decide. Another part of me really wants to read Strange the Dreamer, which might be what I attempt, because I feel like that book is really well written, and I just want to read some good writing, and I want to dive into like a mystical world. I'm thinking Strange the Dreamer. That's what I'm thinking. Oh no, he's gonna sit on me. Okay, let's go to the comfy chair. Let's go to the comfy chair and let's read on the chair. Ooh, this is about a librarian. I didn't realize that. I have a feeling that this book is still gonna be sad, but like it's fantastically sad, and I feel like that's kind of what I'm going for right now. A world to get lost in. Violence. Oh, ow, ow, ow. Don't fall. Violence. Distraction. I've tried to read this book before, and it's incredibly dense and lyrical, bordering on overwritten. Sounds like everything that I should love in a book. It is about an orphan who becomes a librarian, who becomes obsessed with this mythical city that just disappeared from the face of the earth, and the name was lost in everyone's mind. And he meets a woman from that city, I guess. And there's just like this whole kind of like dreamy, mystical, magical element. And so I'm determined to like it. I think before, when I read it, I got through like the first chapter and was like, what the hell am I reading? And it's since, like, I'm on chapter 3 and it's a little bit better, but maybe it might have been a rough day to try to start this. But I'm literally only reading Crime and Punishment right now because I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait until you start the second book. Good evening. Hello. I just got off the phone with my friend, my dear friend. We decided to read together because we were both reading, and it's always better to read with a buddy. I have to admit, okay, let's see. I have been reading this book for like 4 hours. I mean, obviously I haven't fully been reading, but I've been reading this book for 4 hours, and I'm on page 40. So it's very slow going. I'm actually just finding it quite difficult to focus, which is mainly why I was like, hey, do you want to have a reading party? Because there's something about like the energy of someone else reading that just helps me focus a little bit. So it is dense. It is chewy. It is very, very chewy. The writing is bordering on overwritten. It's lyrical and beautiful and whimsical and magical and all of those things, but it just takes a little bit to settle into. And I wasn't expecting that. I don't think I was expecting it the first time I read it, and I wasn't expecting it again now, but I'm slowly settling into it, and it's gripping me more. It's gripping me more. So I definitely want to keep going with it. I was laughing with my friend that for some reason I'm absolutely determined to like this book, and I think it's just one of those books that demands your attention, and I will give it for as long as I can. So page 40. I am very tired though, and I'm actually really hungry, so I think I'm going to make myself a really big bowl of noodle soup with a bunch of veggies and some marinated tofu, and I'm gonna curl up and eat that. The night is far from over though. I'm gonna continue to read, and actually what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to light all of the candles in my apartment because it's still winter. Obviously it is still winter, and I haven't had a candlelit reading night all winter, and I think it will be so cozy. So I'm gonna light all of the candles in this place and then continue on the couch curled up and super cozy. ate food, and then I was listening to Daisy Jones and the Six, and then I sat down to start reading, and then Allison started messaging me, and then I was like, well, at this point I'm a little too sleepy to read, so then I started I was on like a musical spiral. I like started watching old like John Gallagher Jr. clips, and then I remembered that there was like a documentary on Spring Awakening on HBO that I hadn't seen yet because we haven't had Crave. So I like was watching that, but I was kind of fast forwarding through it because it's like a lot of Leah Michelle, and I'm not really like, I'm like, I don't really care about your career. I want to know about other people. Anyway. And then it was midnight. I'm going to take my butt to a coffee shop because I want to finish the second half of my editing that I started yesterday. I did not get a good night's sleep last night. Any tiny change to my routine just is a lot. So I crawled into bed around midnight, and then my cats got me up just before 5 a.m. because that's their regular wake up time for breakfast. So I'm very tired, but I really do want to get this editing done so that I can start this week off feeling confident to continue to write the story. Basically, all I'm doing is just rereading the scenes, deleting what I don't need, adding in things. If a sentence is awkwardly structured, I try to change it up. Sometimes I find when I'm writing, my syntax is a little weird. Oh my god, every time I update, the cuckoo's clock has been going off. Anyway, what I was saying is I find when I'm writing, my syntax, like my actual sentence structure, gets a little wonky sometimes, where I will add in the descriptor, or I'll set up a sentence with a comma splice at the very end, and it's just basically me going through and fixing it up, because when I'm writing, sometimes the ideas just pour out way too quickly and I don't care about like the technical writing part of it. It is interesting to me though, because in my first book, in all of the drafts really, even in the very first drafts that people read, the funny thing that was always said was that the first half was technically written really well, like technically speaking. There were a few errors and it was just written well, meaning exactly that. The writing was good. Whereas the second half was like a little bit more chaos, a little bit less of like technically good writing, but the story just like picked up. And so they could tell, they being my readers, could tell that like I dove into the story in a way that like it just became more about the feeling than the technical writing, which I don't really care, because even if I self-publish this, I'll be hiring an editor to go through my work and edit it. I won't be able to edit it myself. I'm just not as capable. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and my weaknesses are definitely typos. And I've learned to just live with it. When I was in journalism school, if you got a proper noun incorrect or had a spelling error or a factual error in your story, you completely failed the assignment. So you would think I would be better at it, but I'm not. Typos are life, whatever. Anyway, so why am I telling you that? I'm basically telling you that because I feel like this book is actually less technically written well and more just the story, because that's what I'm doing throughout the week, is I'm just letting myself tell the story. I'm letting the words flow, the scenes happen. And this is my time to kind of rein it in a little bit, but not too much. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm really hoping to get the second part done, but you know, it was a rough night of focus and a rough night of not a whole lot of sleep. And the coffee shop that I'm going to is really small, and so you sit right next to people, and sometimes those people are talking on their phone. Or yesterday I sat next to a guy who was like in a work meeting, which was really distracting. I don't know if I should even bother to update with this. I'm gonna keep going with it. I'm wading slowly more into the waters of this story, and it's picking up and I'm enjoying it. And I think once I'm done editing, I am going to continue reading this book. I feel like I'm sounding like I don't really like it, but it's more just that, like, for me, I tend to not know if I like a book until I get like 100 pages in, and I'm at like 60 pages and I'm gonna keep going, so we shall see. But now it is time to edit.
crystal clear. Oh, I care about you more than a lot. This feeling I feel is felt deep in my heart. And by chance, if you feel just a bit of the same, then come over, baby, stop playing this game.
Hello. My hair looks insane, but I'm too lazy to fix it. I did it. I got all the way through revising, except for the very last scene, which I'm going to save for tomorrow. I'm going to reread it before diving into the next bit, which is something that I like to do, again, just to like get a sense for the story. It took a lot longer than I wanted it to, though. I think I was just being really nitpicky, and as you saw, like changing every sentence a million times, which is good. I don't know why I'm frustrated. I think I'm just really tired, and I just really did not want to do this today. But it's done. It's done. It's nowhere near where it needs to be, but I feel like I just wanted to do a reread to get the sense of the story again and to see what I've set up. Like I've said, it wasn't necessarily a reread to fix it up, because I don't really know where the story is gonna go, and where the story goes might change where it starts from, and so I don't want to spend too much time being nitpicky. It's all a balance. It's a balance between perfectionism and wanting your work to be as good as possible, but also knowing that that is highly unachievable, and you kind of just get to a point. You can only climb so high. You can only go so far. All of the words, all of the metaphors. But now I'm ready for the week, and I'm ready to dive into the next part and to really just see where the story is gonna go. I have an idea for the next few scenes, but we'll see. We shall see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this weekend. Tom is going to be home any minute, and so I think I'm just going to spend the rest of the day chilling on the couch, maybe with a book. Maybe we'll watch something. It's Sunday night, so we are going to watch The Last of Us and probably bawl our eyes out. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.